Student, just confirm me. Is my screen visible? Okay. So today we'll be covering the chapter tissues. Okay. The last class, you might have seen that chapter cell was covered, right? The fundamental unit of life. Today we'll be covering the chapter tissues. Okay. Now I know that everyone might have studied this chapter, and you all, thoroughly know what is there in this chapter. So I'll be asking more of questions and I want more of responses. Okay. So let's begin with the chapter. My screen is visible, right? It's visible to everyone. Okay, thank you. So now tell me, students, what are tissues? Yesterday, like last day, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, you all studied what is cell, right? You all studied what is inside a cell. Everything was clearly, described. Today, we are going to study tissues. So what are tissues? Give me, give it in chat box. What are tissues? I can see some of the replies coming in. I want everyone to reply. I can see many students here. Is my voice low? Is it fine now? Okay, so tissues. First, let's see the important topics. We'll be discussing about tissues. We'll be discussing plant tissues and animal tissues. These are the three important topics, and these three topics complete the whole chapter. Okay, it covers the whole chapter: tissues, plant tissues, and animal tissues. Now, if you just see here, tissues, like last chapter you have studied about cell. Tissues are just a group of cell. Here you can see this is a single cell. Okay, it's a single cell. And tissues are actually a group of cell. Now, if there is many group of cell, we won't call it every time as tissue. There are certain, rules and regulation to call a group of cell tissue. Tissue are a group of cell that have a common origin. Like if you see here, there are 5 different cells, and these 5 cells are similar to each other. So in tissues, if we are talking about the tissues, all the cells of the tissues will have the same origin, as well as it will have a particular function. Okay, it will have a particular function. Yes, I can see many answers pitching in. Okay, it's really good that the students are very interactive. So tissues, if you just see, tissues are a group of cell having common origin and performing a particular function. They'll be performing a particular function. So every tissue will be given, each tissue will be given one or the other functions, and they will be doing that function. So here you can see a cylindrical cell has comprised the tissue. This is a muscle cell. Okay, so a cylindrical muscle cell has comprised a tissue having only cylindrical cell. A spindle fiber cell has comprised the tissues having only spindle shaped cells. Okay, spindle shaped cells form the spindle shaped tissues. A cylindrical shaped cell form all the cells together form a tissue. So these are muscle tissues example. Okay, so similar cell forms tissue and they do a particular function. Now if you see how many types of tissues are there, in broadly, if we categorize broadly, how many types of tissues are there? Tell me in broad category, how many types of tissues are there? Okay, in broad category, there are only 2 types of tissues. Okay, one is plant tissue and the other one is animal tissues. And both these tissues are entirely different in their structure. Okay, in their structure, both these tissues are different because plant tissues are formed from plant cells, animal tissues are formed from animal cells. Okay, So broadly, tissues are classified into plant tissues and animal tissues. So first we'll study about plant tissues. So if you see plant tissues, they are found inside the plants. Okay, the photosynthetic organism which we see, which give us food, they are all composed of plant tissues. Okay, now if you just see plant tissue, you can divide it into these many branches. Basically, plant tissue is divided into two important branches. One is meristematic tissue and the other one is permanent tissues. Okay, meristematic tissues, permanent tissues. And then this permanent tissues is again divided into simple permanent tissue, complex permanent tissues, and special permanent tissues. Apart from that, simple permanent tissues, we again divided into parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. And complex permanent tissue, we have divided it into two, xylem and phloem. Similarly, special permanent tissues, you can note down special permanent tissues, we use epidermis, stomata, or cork cells. These and all are special permanent tissues. Now, can you tell me why they are called simple and complex permanent tissues? Meristematic we'll study, but here why they are called as simple and complex permanent tissues? Can anyone just tell me why we call it as simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissues? Yes, very good. So here the answers have come in. Simple permanent tissues because these tissues are made up of only one type of cell. Okay, only one type of cell composes this tissue. So it will be one type of cell, so only one type of tissue. Whereas in complex permanent tissues, many different types of cell forms this tissue. Okay, many different types of cell form this tissue. Hence, we call it as complex tissues because there'll be parenchymatous tissue, there may be vessels, tracheids. So like that, many different kinds of cells comprises to form this tissue. Hence, we call it as complex permanent tissue. Okay. So I hope it is clear. Now, next, we'll move on to the next slide. So first is meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissues are, in simple term, you can say it as dividing tissues. And they are not found in all parts of the plant. Okay, they are found only in selected areas of the plant. Like there are apical meristem, there are intercalary meristem, and there are lateral meristem. So this apical meristem, by the name apical means apex. So these are found only in the apex, okay, apex of the shoot and apex of the root. So apical meristem are found only at the apex, and they help to increase the length of the plant. It helps to increase the length of the shoot. It helps to increase the length of the root. Similarly, intercalary meristem, you can see it will be found between two nodes, okay. It will be found between two nodes. Now, this is a bamboo, you think. This intercalary meristem will be found here, okay. It will be found here. So it will be found between two nodes, and it helps to increase this length. Between the nodes, it helps to increase the length. Hence, we call it as internode. This we call it as internode. So it helps to increase the internodal length. We call it as intercalary meristem. Then we have lateral meristem. Lateral meristem help to increase the girth of the stem. Okay, it helps to increase the diameter. Okay, that is the work of lateral meristem. So is it clear? If it is asked what are the different types of meristem, you have to write there are three different types of meristem. One is apical, intercalary, and lateral meristem. Okay, these are the different types of meristem. Now we'll move on to next tissue, that is permanent tissues. Okay, so first we'll see the characteristics of meristematic cells. If you see, meristematic cells are very fast dividing. So there is no time for the cells to mature. Okay, the cells, once a new cell is formed, as soon as a new cell is formed, it starts again dividing. There's no time to get matured. Okay, so meristematic cells, they have thin wall cells, very thin wall, because they don't have time to make their wall thick. They have a big nucleus because they keep on dividing, right? And in the last chapter only, you have understood how important nucleus is for division. Similarly, they don't have any vacuoles, okay, because they don't need to store waste material. Their only function is division. They're not doing any other function like photosynthesis or providing any kind of strength. They are not doing all these things, okay. Hence, there is no vacuoles in them. So these are the characteristics of meristematic cells. Now we'll move on to simple permanent tissues. I have already told that there are three different simple permanent tissues. One is parenchyma tissues, the other one is collenchyma, and the third one is sclerenchyma. Students, are you able to hear me? Okay. So there are three different types of simple permanent tissue. So first simple permanent tissue, you see from the image itself, you can understand that the cells have very thin cell wall. Okay, you can note it down. The cells have very thin cell wall. Because they have thin cell wall, they are living. Okay, they are not dead. They are living cells. And you will be finding their shape. You can see they are roughly isodiametric. Isodiametric means they are not circular, but they are roughly circular. Okay, they are isodiametric, they are living, they have thin cell wall, and you'll be finding lot of intercellular spaces between them. You'll be finding lot of intercellular spaces between them. Okay, so this is a parenchyma cells. Okay, it has simple thin cell wall made up of cellulose. It has prominent nucleus, vacuoles, all those things are there. Apart from that, they are isodiametric, they are living. Okay, they have a lot of intercellular spaces. Now here you can see this is the longitudinal view and this is the cross section view. Okay, so if you just take a stem and view it from top, you will be able to see the cells in this particular shape. And if you view it from longitudinal side, you'll be able to see the long cells. Okay. Now, these cells, because they are very thin wall, they are found in soft parts of the plant. Young stem, tender stems, leaves, these parts and all, you will be finding this parenchymatous tissues. They help in storage. As it is seen in potato, they help in the storage of food. They are green in color and help in photosynthesis. Okay, photosynthesis. Not every parenchyma is green in color. In potato, you'll be finding parenchyma, but it is not green because its function is storage. But in green parts of the plant, you'll be finding parenchyma with green color in it. Okay, green pigment is present in them and they undergo photosynthesis. Apart from that, in aquatic plants, you'll be finding parenchyma with lot of air spaces in them. So this air spaces help the aquatic plant to float. Okay, and those kind of parenchyma, we call it as parenchyma. So is it clear? Parenchyma is clear. One thing it will be asked, like what are the question will be asked? One is what are the characteristics of parenchymatous cells? Give the function of parenchymatous cells. These will be the question that is asked. Okay, and both we have studied the cell characteristics also and the function also. Okay, even they can ask the location. Where are they found? They are mainly found in the tender parts of the plant. Okay, next come the collenchyma tissues. Can anyone tell me what is the specialty of collenchyma tissues? How it is different from parenchyma or how it is similar to parenchyma? Just give it in the chat box. Yes, very good. So basically, parenchyma and collenchyma is almost, they show more and more similarity because they are living. Okay, they also, this collenchyma also have thin cell wall, but in the corners of collenchyma, you will be finding thickness. Okay, thickness are seen only in the corners, not all over the cell wall. If this is a cell and this is another cell and this is a third cell, so you'll be finding here in the corner of the cell, the thickening will be there. Overall cell wall will not be thick. So it has irregular thickening. Okay, it shows irregular thickening. Because they are attached in the corner, one cell is seen attached with the other. So what happens, when you try to pull one cell, this one cell cannot be pulled apart. They keep on attached with the other. Hence, when a wind blows or something, the plant can easily bend because It won't break. Each cell will not leave the other cell. Okay, it won't break. The flexibility is provided to the plant by parenchyma. Is it clear? Is it clear? It is present in stem, leaf, everywhere, wherever, you know, stalks and all, wherever plant need bending, it helps to protect the plant from breaking while bending. You might have seen when a wind blows, plant usually bend, okay, but they never break because of this parenchyma. Hence, it provides a strength to the plant, okay. So, is it fine? Now, yes. Okay, you can see in leaf, one person has given that sometimes parenchyma has chlorophyll in it and it performs photosynthesis. Yes, very right. In the leaf, in the stems mainly, lower to epidermis, you will be finding parenchyma, and this parenchyma contains photosynthetic pigments in them, chlorophylls in them, and they undergo photosynthesis. This work is also done by parenchyma apart from providing flexibility. Okay. Now, the third kind of simple tissue is sclerenchyma. So, what happens, you know, when parenchyma mature or when parenchyma mature, they just get converted into sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is formed by the accumulation of lignin in the cell wall. Okay, the cell wall of the cell, in the cell wall of the cell, lignin get accumulated and the cell wall completely become very thick. Because the cell wall gets very thick, no substance can pass through the cell wall and the cell ultimately dies. So sclerenchyma is made up of dead cells. Okay, they are not made up of living cells, they are made up of dead cells. So we have seen that parenchyma is made up of living cell, parenchyma is made up of living cell, but sclerenchyma, because their walls are very thick, they are made up of dead cells. Okay, their function, because they are dead cell, their important function is to provide strength to the plant. They provide strength and support to the plant. We know that plant, you know, standing out, they receive rain, they receive heat, everything. This sclerenchyma helps the plant to stay strong in this all weather conditions. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. So they are found all. Have you all ever tasted pear, or have you all tasted custard apple? Or these and all things are like pears and custard apple. Okay, fine. Sorry, not custard apple, wood apple. Okay, wood apple. I don't know whether you all have tasted or not. Those things and all apart. Coconut. You all have seen coconut, right? The husk of the coconut is made up of sclerenchyma. Okay, the husk of the coconuts are made up of sclerenchyma. So you can see how fibrous it is. These sclerenchymas are very fibrous and very hard. Okay. So this was about the simple permanent tissues in plants. Now we'll move on to the complex permanent tissues. Complex permanent tissues, they actually helps in the transport. Okay, they helps in the transport of food and water. Hence, we call them as vascular tissues also. We call them as vascular tissues. Now, vascular tissues means those tissues which help in the transport, okay, which help in the transport of water, transport of minerals, or transport of food. So that kind of tissues, we call it as vascular tissues, okay, and the system, we call it as vascular system, okay. It is there in our body also. In our body, you know, whatever we eat is getting transported by blood, okay. So blood helps to transport everything from one part to another part. So we call this blood system as vascular system in our body. Similarly, in plant, because they help in transport, we call them as vascular. Vascular means helping in transport. So there are two types of tissues that help in transport. One is xylem and the other one is phloem. Xylem, if you see, they are made up of tracheids, they are made up of fibers, they are made up of vessels, as well as they are made up of parenchyma. Because of these different cells they are made up of, we call it them as a complex tissues. Okay. Now, this usually what happens in xylem, most of the cells are dead. But parenchyma, because we have studied that parenchyma are living, parenchyma are living. So xylem, because there is parenchyma, they help in storage. They have these fibers, so they give the strength, and they have vessels that helps in the transport of water and minerals. So these are the function of xylem, helps in transport of water and mineral, which is the first important function of xylem. Apart from that, xylem has fibers which give strength, and then xylem has parenchyma, which helps in the storage of food. Okay. So is it clear? Are you clear about xylem? Okay. Next comes the phloem. Phloem is also made up of different cells. It is made up of sieve plates, sieve tubes, companion cells, fibers, and parenchyma. Okay. So parenchyma is there both in xylem as well as phloem. In xylem, the parenchyma, we call it as xylem parenchyma. In phloem, the parenchyma, we call it as phloem parenchyma. Similarly with the fiber, okay? For xylem fiber and phloem fiber. Now, this sieve plate, companion cells, and sieve tubes, okay, what they do is they help in the transport of food. They help in the transport of food, whereas fiber, it provides strength. And again, parenchyma, it helps in storage. Okay, this is the function of phloem. Phloem, similar to xylem, but they help in transport of food, not transport of water and minerals. Now, one thing you have to be clear, xylem, because we water plant, in the root region, so xylem transport always take place from below to up. Okay, so it's a unidirectional transport. It takes place from bottom to top. Whereas in phloem, leaves can be anywhere of the plant, right? So the phloem has to transport food to the roots. If it has to transport food to the root, it has to come down. If it has to take food to the upper part, it has to go up. So it goes in every direction. Okay. So this is clear, I hope. Is it? My voice is cracking. Other students, please confirm. Is my voice cracking? Okay. Okay, I think, Nivedita, you're facing some network issue, I think. Hence, maybe it's raining out, right? There might be a little network error. Okay, so now let's solve some question. Let's see what kind of question, is being asked for our first term exam related to this plant tissues. Okay, so this one, identify the tissue in given diagram and choose the correct sequence. Now here you see this tissue has all uniform cell wall, right? Uniform thick cell wall. So if there is uniform thick cell wall, what tissue it is? Just tell me. If it is uniform thick cell wall, what kind of tissue it is? Uniform thick cell wall. Just think thick cell wall. Yes, the first one is sclerenchyma, okay? Because it has uniform thick cell wall, we'll eliminate this two option. Whenever, multiple choice question is asked, just try to eliminate. If you try to eliminate, you will get the correct answer directly. So we have now two things. One is A and the other one is B. Now, if you see this one, we know it has thin cell wall with lot of chloroplast in it. So it will be obviously parenchyma. Both the questions has parenchyma. So it's obviously parenchyma. Then third, you see, third is like cells here and there scattered without any shape. That is the that we have studied in last chapter only, that cells without any shapes are animal cells. Okay. So it will be cheek cell. So the option will be A. So how many of you have given option as A? Okay, very good. Everyone, have replied it like correctly. Very good. Now, next we'll move on to the next question. If the tip of a sugarcane plant is removed from the field, even then it keeps on growing in length. Why? See, tip has the apical meristem. If this tip is removed, then it keep on growing. How? Apical meristem is removed. We have removed the tip. It means we have removed the apical meristem. Okay. Then do the sugarcane plant keep growing? Any idea how? Yes, because this sugarcane, you all have eaten this sugarcane, right? If you see a sugarcane is very long stem, having lots of internodes, okay, having lots of nodes and internodes. And this meristem, the intercalary meristem, which is present in the nodes, helps to grow, okay, helps in the growth of the stem. Okay, is it clear now? It's like intercalary meristem. Next, you see water hyacinths float on water surface. Explain. Water hyacinth are aquatic plants, okay. We if you just see a lake or something, you'll be finding lot of aquatic plant with very good purple color flowers. Those are water hyacinth, okay. This water hyacinth floats on water. So which tissue might be helping water hyacinth? Yes, it's parenchyma. So this is water hyacinth, and these are the parenchyma. You can see the brown colors are the parenchyma cells there. And in between, there are lot of air spaces. Because of this air spaces, the plant float. Okay. So it is clear, like, right? It is parenchyma. Next, describe the structure and function of stomata. We haven't seen stomata. If you see stomata, stomata has a kidney-shaped cell. Okay, a pair of kidney-shaped cell, which we call it as guard cell. Okay, when you draw a stomata, when they say to draw a stomata, you have to draw two guard cells. In between, there should be an opening. You can draw closed stomata also. These are guard cells. This is known as stoma, S-T-O-M-A. Okay, stoma. And then there are a lot of cells will be there. Apart from stomata, you'll be finding lot of, in stomata, apart from guard cell, you'll be finding lot of other cells, which we call it as subsidiary cell. These three parts you have to label. One is guard cell, another one is stoma, this whole opening, stoma, and the third one is subsidiary cell. That is enough, okay? And then they have asked, what is the function? What is the function? Function is shown here. It helps in the exchange of gases, okay? Oxygen goes in, oxygen comes out and carbon dioxide goes in. Also, it helps to remove water, okay? So this is the function of stomata. Okay, is it clear? Now next, state the difference between xylem and phloem. What is the difference between xylem and phloem? We'll quickly see. Xylem, what it does, it helps in the transport of water and minerals. Here, it helps in the transport of water and food. Okay. One-way flow of sap. I told you it's always from below to up. It's one-way flow of sap. Here, sap. Okay. Here you can see two-way. Already I have told you it's unidirectional and this is bidirectional. Thick cell wall made up of lignin. Here you'll be finding that the tubes, the sieve tubes are made up of thin cell wall. Okay. The here vessels are made up of thick cell wall, whereas here the tubes are made up of thin cell wall. And here you'll be finding that there is no perforated plate present. Here you'll be finding perforated plate. Perforated plate means, as you can see, when you, the tea stainer and all, right, it has a lot of holes in it. So similarly, the sieve tubes of phloem also have a lot of holes. So that we call it as perforated plate. So in phloem, you'll be finding that perforated plate, but in xylem, you'll not find that. Okay, so this is the difference between xylem and phloem. So you can take a screenshot of this and keep, so that, you know, later on, if you study, this will be very helpful for you all. Now next, lignified or thickened cell wall is a characteristic feature of, what? Obviously, it cannot be parenchyma, right? Parenchyma has very thin cell wall. It cannot be collenchyma, because collenchyma also has thin cell wall, not thickened. Thin cell wall, only in the corners they have thickening. So either it should be phloem or xylem. We know phloem has thin cell wall. Just now we have seen that is xylem. The xylem has thick and lignified cell wall. Okay, so the answer will be xylem. Is it okay? Everyone have got xylem as answer? Okay, very good. Now let's move on to the next question. Why is the epidermis present as a thick waxy coating in desert plants? Why? If you see desert plants, if you touch the desert plants also, you can feel lot of waxy type of texture in them. What is the reason? Why they have this waxy coating? Just imagine why these desert plants have waxy coating. Yes, very good. I got the answer. You know, desert plants live in desert. And desert, what happens there? Water is very less, very hot climate, but the water is very less. The sands are very dry there, okay? So because the water is very less, the plant doesn't want to lose any water, okay? The plant doesn't want to lose any water, okay? So what they do, they make their epidermis covered with thick waxy layers so that the loss of water will be prevented. So is it fine? Now next, the water conducting tissue generally present in gymnosperm. This I haven't told, but you all just try to guess what will be the water conducting tissues in gymnosperm. Is it xylem fiber? Is it tracheids? Is it sieve tubes or vessels? Just try to guess. The water conducting tissues in gymnosperm. Okay, so I have got a lot of answers. Now, I have already told in angiosperm, vessels helps in the conduction of water. Vessels helps in the conduction of water. Fibers provide strength. Okay, so in gymnosperm also, fibers will not be the one who will transport water. Okay, so in gymnosperm, sieve tubes are not at all the option because phloem, it is in phloem, it's not in xylem. Okay, so sieve tube, we have eliminated the answer. We have eliminated the answer xylem fibers because xylem fibers provide strength. They have the thick cell wall. How can they transport water? Then now comes tracheids and vessels. We know in angiosperm, that is flowering plants. In flowering plants, it is always vessels. Vessels help in the transport of water. But in gymnosperm, vessels are absent. Okay. If vessels are absent, then there is only one tissue that helps in the transport of water, and that is tracheids. Okay, tracheids helps in the transport of water in gymnosperm. So this kind of question might come, you know, some tricky question where you all have to, you know, a little think which can be the answer. So I know most of the students will get confused with tracheids or vessels, tracheids or vessels. Okay, so it's tracheids because vessels are not present in gymnosperm. You can note it, this one. Next, presence of which chemical in cork cells make them impervious to water and gases. Now, what are cork cells? First, let's see what are cork cells. Okay, cork cells are cells when the plant get matured. Okay, when the plant get matured, the thin epidermis, which is covering the outer layer of the plant, start to rupture. Okay, because of the plant, when plant get matured, the thin epidermis start to rupture, and instead of that, a thick dead cells form the layer. Okay, that thick dead cells are known as cork cells, and they have very thick cell wall, and because of that, no water can enter into them. So those thick cell walls are due to suberin. Okay, so I should repeat this cork cell part. Okay, so what happens when the plant mature? When the plant mature, the thin epidermis, you know, they just worn out, they just break. Okay, so when the thin cell epidermis break, for protection, plant needs something. Okay, at that time, plant produces this cork cells. Okay, these cork cells are dead cells. Okay, they are dead cells. They have huge cell walls. Okay, means thick cell wall. Because of this thick cell wall, water cannot enter the cork cell. And this cell wall, thickness of the cell wall is due to the deposit of suberin. Okay, suberin means another chemical substance. Due to that chemical substance, the thick cell wall of cork cells are formed. So is it clear now? I hope it is clear what are cork cells. You might be seeing bark of the stem. If you just go and touch a stem, or if you just try to remove the bark of the stem, those are all made up of cork cells. Okay, you can see how dry the bark will be. Okay, they are very dry without any water content. That's because they are made up of this dead cells called cork cells. Is it clear now? Now let us move to the next question. Now give reason. Meristematic cells have a prominent nucleus and dense cytoplasm but lack vacuoles. Why they lack vacuoles? Because they don't have any metabolic activity to do. They only need to divide. If a plant do some activity, only then they will produce waste, and this waste get accumulated in the vacuole. But because meristematic tissues are not doing any activity, metabolic activity, they are just keeping on dividing. They do not require any vacuole for them. Intercellular spaces are absent in sclerenchymatous tissues. Why? Why intercellular spaces are absent? Intercellular spaces are absent because those spaces are occupied by lignin. Lignin, and the cell wall become very thin because of the lignin deposits. Okay, because of the lignin deposit, the cell wall become thick and all the intercellular spaces get filled with this lignin. We get a crunchy and granular feeling when we chew a pear, right? So what causes this crunchy and granular feeling? What causes this crunchy and granular feeling? That's sclerenchyma. Okay, sclerenchyma causes that granular feeling. Branches of tree move and bend freely in high wind because of flexibility. Who gives flexibility? Which tissue gives flexibility? Yes, it's parenchyma. It is difficult to pull out husk of the coconut tree. It is difficult to pull out the husk of a coconut tree. Why? Why it is very difficult to pull out the husk of the coconut tree? Yes, because they are made up of sclerenchyma fibers. Okay, and the fibers are very strong. They are made up of very thick cell walls, right? So they are very strong. Hence, it is very difficult to pull out the husk of coconut. Okay. So this one is also clear, and I'm very glad that all the students are answering very well. So this shows that you all are very well prepared for your exams. Now, next question: tissue A and tissue B constitute tissue C. So there's one tissue A, there's another tissue B, and this together forms one tissue, which we call it as tissue C. Now, tissue A carries water, while tissue B carries food. Identify ABC. So what will be ABC? What will be ABC? Try to guess what will be ABC. Yes, A will be xylem because it is carrying water. B will be phloem because it is carrying food. And what will be C? C will be the vascular tissues. I told you complex permanent tissues are also known as vascular tissues, and it is of two types, xylem and phloem. Okay, so first A will be xylem, B will be phloem, and the third one will be vascular tissues. So this was about the plant tissues. So we have seen plant tissues can be categorized into two: meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Permanent tissues can be categorized into three: simple permanent tissues, complex permanent tissues, and special permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues is again categorized into three: parenchyma, parenchyma, sclerenchyma. Complex permanent tissues is categorized into two: xylem and phloem. And special, we have seen epidermis, cork cells, and stomata. Now, coming to animal tissues are classified into four groups. Okay, epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissues, and nervous tissues. And this four tissues comprises all the parts of our body. So epithelial tissues is the protecting layer. All the skin, internal organs, everything is covered by epithelial tissues. It's the protective tissues. Then comes the connective tissues. Now what happens, from one organ, that is my lungs is to be connected by heart, or my hands is to be connected by my body. Okay, so these things, this connection is done by connective tissues. And then whatever muscles are there, that is made up of muscular tissues. And the control and coordination, whether what should I say or what should I do, all this is controlled by nervous tissue. So these four tissues comprises the whole animal body. Okay, it will be human body or any other animal body. These four tissues are composed of. So epithelial tissues, they helps in protection, absorption, secretion, and sometimes sensory also. You feel heat, cold. Okay, the skin can feel it, right? So that's sensory. Filling is also given by epithelial tissues. Now, connective tissues support. All connective tissues, bones are made up of connective tissues. They give the strength, support. Okay. Binding of organs. There are connective tissues will help to connect skin to the muscles. Okay. So they help to bind organs. They help in the transport of substances. Example, blood. Blood help in the transport of substances. Lymph is another example that help in the transport of substances. Then come immunity. Immunity, lymph, as I told you, lymph helps to fight diseases. Okay. Hence, it gives immunity. Even blood, inside blood, there are white blood cells that helps to fight diseases. So, it gives us strength and immunity. Then comes the muscular tissues. Muscular tissues helps in movement and locomotion. Movement means you just see, I'm moving my hand here and there. We call it as movement. Locomotion means I have to move from one place to another. Okay, right now I can't do that. But after class, I'll just finish off the class and I can move from one place to another. So that is known as locomotion. That's the difference between movement and locomotion. Now, nervous tissues control all the activity of our body. Whether I need to raise hand, whether I need to open my fist or not, these things are all controlled by my nervous tissues. Okay, is it clear what are the 4 different types of animal tissues? Clear? Okay, so we'll move on to the first type of animal tissues, that is epithelial tissues. Okay, now see, describe the structure and function of different kinds of epithelial tissues. Draw the diagram for each type of epithelial tissue. So one thing I think you all have to be clear is, in the exam, diagrams are asked. Okay, so whatever diagrams are there, whether it is in the chapter cell, whether it is in the chapter tissue, learn all the diagrams. Okay, all the important diagrams you have to study. Okay, because diagrams are asked. Okay, so you have seen first one question about stomata. They have told to draw stomata. Now they are asked to draw all the epithelial tissues. So you all can practice diagrams. Now epithelial tissues, you can see here there are different types of epithelial tissues. You can take a screenshot, or it is available in our platform also. You can just go and download it. Okay, so here you can see simple squamous, one type of epithelial tissue. Simple squamous means they are made up of only thin layer of cell. Only one thin layer of cell it is made up of. So simple squamous, they are found in blood vessels, alveoli, okay, the lining of alveoli, esophagus, okay, and mouth, lining of mouth, they are found there. Simple squamous. You might have seen the cheek cells also. When if you just scratch it with a small pointed thing, it will just break because they're made up of very thin layer. Then we have stratified squamous. Just touch your skin, if you just touch your skin, you will get to know that it's so thick. The thickness is because of this stratified tissue. Stratified means layers. Okay, so this stratified squamous make the skin, hence skin is very thick. Okay, so skin is an example. Then we have columnar. Columnar means the cells will be column shaped. Okay, column shaped. We all know that how column look. Okay, so this column shape of cells will be there. This is known as columnar. Okay, and when in this columnar, some of the columnar has hairs in it, small hairs in it. We call it as cilia. So columnar tissues can be without hairs. We call as simple columnar. It is found in the lining of intestine. But it can also have cilia in it. In respiratory tract, what happened? The mucus is there in the respiratory tract. So for the movement of mucus, they need this cilia. Okay, hence they are found in the respiratory tract. This cilia, the hair-like arising, which we call it as cilia, they helps in the movement. They helps in the movement of mucus from one place to another. Okay, then we have simple cuboidal. Cube, right? Cube-like structures. It's like small cube, square-like structure. Okay, so this cube-like structures, cells are known as cuboidal cells. Okay, they are found in the kidney tubules. All the functions of this epidermal cells is protection. The stratified epidermal cell, which is found in the skin, provide protection. Okay, simple squamous. It is very thin wall. Okay, found in blood vessels. It helps in the absorption. Okay, it helps to move substance easily in and out of the cell. So when blood capillaries come to the tissues require some substance. They'll take it from the blood capillary easy because of this simple squamous. They help in that exchange. Okay. Columnar help in absorption. It is found in intestine. It is help in absorption. Ciliated, it helps in the movement of substances. Okay. Then simple cuboidal, it also helps to, it actually provide the base of, okay, kidney tubules. Okay. It helps to provide the thickness for kidney tubules. So these are the functions of epithelial tissues. Okay. Now let's move on to the next tissues. Now here there's a question. What is the lining of blood vessel made up of? You have to name the exact name of the epithelial tissue. Okay, exact name. What is the lining of blood vessel made up of? Just give me the answer fast. Lining of blood vessel made up of? Quick. Lining of blood vessels made up of? Just now we have seen the lining of blood vessel made up of? Okay, so it is made up of simple squamous. It is made up of simple squamous. Now, what is the lining of small intestine made up of? Just give a quick answer, students. What is the lining of small intestine made up of? Small intestine is made up of columnar. Okay, simple columnar. Then what is the lining of kidney tubule made up of? What is the lining of kidney tubule made up of? Kidney tubule is made up of? Yes, cuboidal. Very good. Where are epithelial cells with cilia found? Where are epithelial cells with cilia? With cilia. Where do we find them? With cilia? Yes, it is found in the respiratory tract. Okay, it is found in the respiratory tract. Very good. So quick replies I have got. Next, we'll move on to the connective tissues. Connective tissues is like it has lot of different connective tissues. Okay, first we'll start with blood. Blood is a connective tissue. You just imagine, what does blood do? Blood is a fluid connective tissues. It can easily move. So what will it do? It helps in the transport of food and substances. Okay, because not only food, waste materials, oxygen, gases, everything it transport. Okay, it helps to transport substances from one part to other part of the body. It's a fluid connective tissue. Questions are asked, name the fluid connective tissue. At that time, you have to say that it is blood. Then we have bone. Bone is not like blood. It is very hard, compactly packed. Okay, because it is hard and compactly packed, it helps to give support. It helps to give support as well as shape. Whatever shape we are, that's because of the bones. Okay, it also helps to connect one part to the other. Okay, we know that the bone in the arm, the humerus, it helps to connect the shoulder to the elbow. Okay, so it also helps to connect one part to other. Then we have ligaments. There is always confusion, among students between ligaments and tendons. So you have to know ligaments. Ligaments connect bone to bone. The connection between bone to bone is known as ligament. And the connection between bone to muscle is known as tendon. Okay, the tissue that connects the bone to muscle, BB is ligament and BM is tendon. Okay, so bone to bone connection by ligament, bone to muscle connection by tendon. Okay, you have to remember that. So what come first? BB and L come first. Okay, so BBL, bone, ligament, and then comes BM. Then you have to go to T. Okay, so BMT is bone, muscle, tendon. Then we have areolar. Areolar, we have already discussed that areolar is a binding tissue. It helps to bind two different tissues like skin and muscle. It helps to bind. It will be found between the skin and muscle. So it helps to bind the tissues. Okay, it also repairs the damaged tissues. Whenever a tissue gets damaged, areolar tissues repairs the tissues. Okay. Then we have adipose tissues. Adipose tissues are very important. They are fat tissues, but too much also is very harmful because they act as insulator. They do not allow any heat of the body to pass out. Similarly, they will not allow any outside cold temperature or heat to come inside our body. So they act as an insulator. They are usually found below the skin. Okay. Then we have cartilage. Cartilage are tissues that are found between the bones. Here you will be finding cartilage tissues. Cartilage tissues, what they do, they helps in the bending of bone. When two bones bend, the cartilage gives a flexibility in bending. The two bones don't rub each other. Hence, we do not feel any pain. Okay, we do not feel any kind of pain. So is it clear? What are the different types of connective tissues? One is fluid connective tissue, blood. The other one is rigid connective tissue. The hard connective tissue, we call it as bone. We have another that is fibrous connective tissues, ligaments and tendons. Then we have areolar tissues, fat tissues, that is adipose tissues, and soft tissues, which we call it as cartilage. So these are the different types of connective tissues. Okay. Now, try to solve. Which of the following helps in repair of tissues and fill the space inside the organ? Which tissues helps in repair and fill the space? Just tell me which tissue. Yes, very good. Without any options or any guesses, you all have told that it is areolar tissues. Areolar tissues are the binding tissues. They help to fill the spaces. Next, bones are connected to muscle at the joint by. Bones are connected to muscle. BM has come. So what will be the answer? Tendons. Very good. It is tendon. Ligaments connect bone to bone. Tendons connect bone to muscle. Very good. Now, we'll move on to muscular tissues. Muscular tissues, there are three different types of muscular tissues. Okay. One is skeletal, which is made up of cylindrical cells. And the skeletal tissues, you can see here, they have lot of bands in between them. They have dark band, light band, dark band, light band. We call it as striations. Okay, skeletal muscles have striations in them. And this skeletal muscles, they are seen attached with the bone. You can see here, they are always seen attached with the bone. Hence, we call them as skeletal muscle. This skeletal muscles only tendons helps to attach. Okay, tendons bring this skeletal muscle and attach it to the bone. Tendons won't do this to cardiac or smooth muscle. They do this to skeletal muscles only. Skeletal muscles get attached with the bone. Okay. Now, what is the function? Can we control the function of skeletal muscle? Is it in our control? The function of skeletal muscle? Just imagine. Yes or no? The function of skeletal muscle is in our control. Okay, you can see this, biceps. When you want to lift a bag, it is you who are deciding whether I need to lift it or not. And that's because of the skeletal muscles we are able to do that. Okay, I want to raise hand. That's because of my skeletal muscles. So skeletal muscles work in our control. It is voluntary. Okay, we call it as voluntary muscle. It works according to our control. If you're just imagine if your mom is saying you all to sit down, it should be with your control that you will sit down. Okay, it's not that it will means if your mind says okay, I need to sit down, only then your muscle will sit down. It works according to our control. Now coming to smooth muscle. Smooth muscles are made up of spindle shaped cells. They don't have this striations. They are smooth. They don't have striation. One more difference. Here in skeletal muscle, one cell has lot of nucleus. Whereas in smooth muscle, one cell has only one nucleus. Okay. So that is another difference. Here in smooth muscle, they don't work according to our will. Okay. They work involuntarily. Okay. We can't control them. And all the internal organs are made up of this. Now, if I just imagine that digestion shouldn't take place, I don't want the food to get digested because I have eaten my favorite food. I don't want it to digest. Will it happen? Just tell me, will it happen if I want no, food should not get digested? No, it won't happen because I cannot control that muscle. That muscle do its activity according to its own will. Okay, it will not work according to my will. Hence, we call it as involuntary muscles. Okay. Now coming to cardiac muscle shows characteristics of these two muscles also. Okay. Because this muscle is showing characteristics of skeletal muscle as well as of smooth muscle, we cannot classify it as skeletal or smooth. So what we did, we classified it into a different group called cardiac muscle. And only one organ in our body is made up of cardiac muscle, that is heart. You know, when you keep on working, if you just open your fist, okay, and close, how many times will you do? Maybe 5 minutes you can do, okay, or 10 minutes you can do. After that, your muscles will get tired. But this cardiac muscle, they keep on, you know, beating from the day means our heart is formed inside our mother's womb till the day we die. It keep on working, okay, without getting tired. So these muscles never get tired, never get fatigued. Okay, these are very strong muscles, and they are found only in the heart. Now you can see striations in them. You can see the bands, the black, dark and light bands. That shows that it has characteristic of skeletal muscle. But these muscles are not in our control. We cannot control it. They are involuntary, and which is the characteristic of smooth muscle. Hence, they are showing both the characteristics. They are showing characteristics of skeletal muscle as well as smooth muscle. Hence, we are classified into a separate group. Apart from that, skeletal muscle has its own characteristic also. They never get fatigued. They have branches in them. Okay. Smooth muscle and skeletal muscle, they don't have branches in them, but cardiac muscles have branches in them. Okay. Now you can see here, which muscles act involuntary? Which muscle? Striated muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, or skeletal muscle? Which muscle will act involuntarily? Just try to answer. Which muscle? Smooth muscle, only smooth muscle? Smooth muscle and cardiac muscle. Okay, so the answer will be 2 and 3. Okay, so the answer will be 2 and 3. So which option shows the answer as 2 and 3? Which option shows? Smooth muscles also involuntary, cardiac muscle is also involuntary. So the answer will be D. Okay. Option D shows both the right choices. So this was about the muscular tissues. Now let's move on to nervous tissues. Nervous tissues are very simple. They are the one simple tissues. Okay. They are very simple. They are made up of only one type of cell called nerve cell, or in you can term it as neuron. Okay, you can call it as neuron or nerve cell. They are the very simple tissues because they are made up of only one. We have seen connective tissues, they are different types. We have seen epithelial tissues, they are also different types. But nervous tissues are made up of only one type of nerve cells. Okay, there are no different types of nervous tissue. Now this nerve cells, you can see this diagram is very important. Okay, this clear diagram you have to draw. It is usually asked in the exam. You have to draw the dendrites, the branches, dendrites which receives the signal from other nerve cell. Okay, then we have a cell body. What does cell body do? Cell body helps to increase the strength of the signal. What happens if I'm speaking in a mic? Okay, my voice will be very low, right? But for an auditorium of students to hear my voice, I require loudspeaker there. So similarly, when dendrites receive the signal, the signals are very weak. They are very low and they cannot be passed through axon. So what does cell body do? The cell body increases the strength of the signal. So once they increase the strength of the signal, they transfer it to the axon. This long branch, we call it as axon. In exams, they ask, name the long branch of the nerve cell. So it is axon. You might be finding some of the axons are covered with the fat sheet. As you can see here, some of the axons will not be covered. Okay. So if an axon is covered with fat sheet, which we call it as myelin sheet, the transfer of signal takes place very fast because this myelin sheet are made up of fat, and fat are insulator. They do not allow loss of any signal. Okay. So the signal transfer is very fast. If the axon is not covered by myelin sheet, the signal transfer takes place, but in a slow rate comparing to the axons covered with myelin sheet. So once the signal reaches the axon terminal, it again give it signal to the dendrites. Okay, so this is how one neuron to another neuron, the signal get transferred, and it's very quick. Within milliseconds, the signal get transferred. Just imagine I'm thinking something in my brain and I'm speaking. Okay, within seconds it is happening. Similarly, you all trying to imagine some school friend or something, immediately the image comes in your mind, right? So that's very fast the work occurs in nerve cell. Okay, so they helps to control all the activities of the body. They helps to control all the activities, whether everything, remembering or should I walk or not, everything will be controlled by this nerve cells only. Okay, so these are the different types of animal cells which we have studied. We have studied 4 different types of animal cells, that is epithelial cells, okay, epithelial tissues, connective tissues, muscular tissues, and the last tissues, that is nervous tissues. Now I want you all to ask me, if any doubts are there or anything, you can ask me the questions. What's the time? Okay, it's already time up, I think. Do you all have any other class at 7? Okay, so there's no class. So is there any doubt? Before winding up, if there is any doubt, you can ask me. Whether if I missed some portion or something, you can just ask me. Okay. Is there any doubt? Okay, then students, we can wind up the class. If any doubt, you can just leave it in the chat box. I'll try to answer. I'll be here for 2-3 minutes, so that I'll be waiting for your doubt. Yes, cardiac muscles, during a cardiac arrest, what happens? The cardiac muscle, the beating of cardiac muscle stops during cardiac arrest. Okay. And that happens because if every muscles, they require energy, and blood brings the energy to them. So if the blood flow or, if the oxygen reaching these muscles become less, only then they stop. Okay. It's not because the muscle got tired or something. It's because the oxygen which is supplied by the blood vessels are not reaching them properly. Okay, so we have to revive them during cardiac arrest. We have to revive the patient by providing, by if there is any block in the blood vessels which are not unable to give oxygen to this muscle. So these patients, they undergo that kind of angioplasty or bypass surgery and all, so that that block can be removed, and then they can get the proper supply of oxygen. So usually it happens with when the supply of oxygen gets reduced, to the cardiac muscles. Any other question? Okay. So thank you, students. Thank you for joining. And all the best for your exams. Okay, okay, then bye, students. You all can join in the next class conducted by Manorama Horizon. Thank you.